You see how good they are day to day. Phil Mickelson was close to my locker, and I got to chat up with him a little bit and see him play. He played in a group in front of me, and it was fascinating to me. I was just like, man, there's some really good players, and names you kind of forget over time. And I'm in these Monday qualifiers. I'm like, damn, this guy Chris Riley was in the Ryder Cup 6 years before. How's he at a Monday qualifier with me?
Yeah.
And I just saw how good you have to be all the time. And the fascinating thing was, I remember I was traveling and I would buy those Forbes magazines and kind of read, something to read. And I remember it was like Forbes 400, right? And the 400th guy's worth $1 billion.
There's no like, golfers on that.
If you're first of all, there's no golfers. And second of all, I'm reading the Forbes 400. I'm like, okay, if you're the 400th best golfer, you're worth like $70,000.
Yeah.
and you're like really good. You shoot under par all the time. You can qualify into the Shell Houston Open. You can have status on the Nationwide. It's hard. It was an aha moment. It's like, okay, man, you can keep grinding this out and you'll probably be a journeyman. Best you'll have some status on tour and you'll have some status. You go back and forth. Or you can go try to be the 400 best at something and you'll do better.
Managing 35 properties used to mean managing 35 debit cards, piles of gas receipts, and endless transactions. If you're in the real estate business or really any business that manages multiple entities, you know what I'm talking about. That was us until we found Ramp. Chasing receipts, logging expenses, and untangling transactions was low leverage work that held us back. Onboarding with Ramp changed everything. Now our purchases are automatically categorized, our receipts are matched, our approvals are streamlined, and our expenses sync into our accounting software. No manual work needed. My CFO said it feels like we hired a full-time expense manager. Over 30,000 businesses, including CBRE, the world's largest real estate company, trust Ramp to optimize their operations. As soon as we heard CBRE loves Ramp, we signed and it was a game changer. We haven't looked back since. Ramp provided us with white glove onboarding support, and for listeners of The Fort, they're offering the same. Sign up within the next 30 days and you'll get a dedicated team to ensure a fast and seamless setup. Go to ramp.com/fort. That's RAMP.com/FORT. Save time, simplify expenses, and take your business to the next level. Cards issued by Sutton Bank, a member of the FDIC. Terms and conditions apply. Y'all have heard me talk about this company, Better Pitch, for a long time. Fort has been using them to build decks over the last 6 months. And I have to say, I thought we were good at building decks until we started working with Better Pitch. They have an awesome service. Highly recommend using them. If you reach out to them and mention the Fort podcast, they will work with you risk-free on as many iterations as you would like. So go visit them at betterpitch.com. That's BETTERPITCH.com to schedule your call today. We're now on episode 386. Y'all were episode 89. So I just wanted to start by saying if we hadn't done that episode, I don't know where this podcast would be. So we're going to break the ice with just an icebreaker. Who is the best golfer, you two or Taylor? We have to get it on the record. Who's the best Leon golfer?
So we got to go with Taylor. She's made the most money.
Taylor's the best golfer.
You agree?
She was incredible.
Would Art agree?
Everyone, you have to agree.
But Art pretty much thought y'all are all great.
Yes.
He instilled a lot of confidence in y'all.
But she played on the LPGA for 5 years. And
all right.
We didn't play on
Taylor,
the LPGA as long.
Yeah, she had great sponsors.
She'd
still be out there if she wanted to be.
She's good at having kids now.
She's
with
a great mom.
Brother-in-law.
She's
Hall of
going.
Famer.
Gonna have her fifth.
Fifth.
At 38. Good for her.
Mm-hmm.
Married a stud, Brandon, who I'm playing tomorrow with in the member guest.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Kick for Georgia. Kick for the Seahawks. A lot of athletes. So, for those listening, we're going to talk about oil and gas, but we're going to talk about athletics to start.
I like that.
Okay. Tell me about growing up in Dallas. Like, when did golf become a thing? As far back as you can remember.
We bounced around a lot, but it was when we were in, for me, it was when we were in Houston.
You're in Houston before Dallas.
Yep. And our dad was a member at Brayburn, and I kind of remember going out there as a 7-year-old, but not really knowing what I was doing. But yeah, I liked the Mentos they had by the shack at the driving range, and all three of us would be out there, and our dad probably be hitting more balls than us, but that's like my first memories.
Tyler?
Yeah, mine's exactly the same at Brayburn. That's when he started dropping us off a bunch, playing golf, and then you go swim at the pool, kind of like probably a lot of kids, growing up.
Did y'all like it, or did he it was like you didn't have a choice, or y'all like took to it at 7?
We didn't always like do it. Wasn't like an everyday deal.
Yeah.
It was kind of like weekends because we played other sports, and I don't really remember it feeling forced. It was just like, hey, we're going out. I'm going to play golf with my buds. Y'all go hit on the range. There was like 1 or 2 other kids we played with. And then it was a lot more laid back thing in elementary school.
But when did it become like a thing? Like when it was like, all right, we're golfers, or we're going to start doing this.
Moving to Dallas.
Which was, how old were y'all?
I was 9.
Yeah. So I was
4th
11.
And were y'all good friends as kids?
We're probably better friends now.
We'll talk. We have a story
Yeah.
or two. But y'all were good. But were y'all, when y'all played golf as kids, were y'all competitors more than you were friends, or was it like the Trent and Tyler show even as kids?
We were different ages. We would always be next to each other.
Yeah.
On the golf course, because the kids are all like moving together like a school of fish on a golf course.
Yep.
And you're just trying to have fun. I mean, I'm a little brother. I want to beat my big brother. Like I mean, you know, and I think that kind of changed in college. We were on the same team. For me, that changed in college. It was like, I never wanted Tyler to play bad. I just wanted to play better.
Yeah.
I never wanted Tyler to finish second unless I won. If it wasn't me, I wanted him to win.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of changed for me in maybe late high school, college, but I think it's more like maturity.
I totally agree.
And you always wanted to beat Trent because you were the big brother.
Yeah, you want to beat your brother for sure. But the key point, and I think other people see it with us now, is like we never like want the other one to do bad. That's not like it's never even a thought.
Yep.
So that's how I would say we've kind of always been like that.
Is that because of art, or that's just because how it was?
It's probably a mix.
I mean, our dad's an identical twin. His best friend was his brother.
Yeah.
Tyler and I are really close. They were probably closer.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I couldn't imagine how I could be any closer to Tyler already, but
yeah.
I think our dad raised us as if we were twins. I have twins. I try to raise my kids the way my dad raised us because we have such a good relationship.
Yeah.
Which I think it's easier said than done, but I think our dad probably had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, he had a good thing always. Like if you got in fights or whatever, he'd let you fight it out. But it's like, okay, you guys are gonna hug at the end of it.
Never punched each other in the face.
So like he had a couple of rules that are good that help you like never like make the fracture go too bad. Like get like, hey, you're gonna fight, but get over it.
Okay, you just said y'all never fought. There's a story.
No, we fought. We never punched each other in the face.
Okay, well, maybe not punch with fists, but we need to get to the bottom of this. There's a story about Art needing to get the wedding ring on his finger sawed off. Do you remember this?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So why would he have
12th
to?
hole, right?
Why would he have to get this wedding ring sawed off?
Trent's gonna have a better memory because he was.
And Taylor has a good memory too, so I can fill in.
I just remember watching her dad.
I just know the way she looked at
This is the exact story. We would go play golf on the weekends as a family of 5.
Okay.
By
mom, dad,
yes,
Taylor, Trent, Tyler.
That's right. And at no point as a 12-year-old kid, you know, we're 11 to 13. None of us ever play good the same day. You're all playing. Someone's playing good. Someone's playing bad. My dad would make us keep the score. Her sister would start getting upset on like the 5th hole that she's not keeping her score because she made an 8. Then that happens to me probably the 7th or 8th hole. I don't want to keep my score. We're all keeping score. Everyone wants to fight. My mom's wanting just to go in. Art's kind of getting a little short. We're on the 12th green, and I'm twirling my putter around, you know, like whatever, and it catches Tyler's ankle. You know, like he drops to his knees. I don't think he cried. I'm sure he wanted to cry. Maybe he did. I think we all want to cry. I mean, it smoked his ankle. And at this point, my dad has had it with me and probably everyone else on the golf course. And he looks at me and he does this deal with his lip when he gets pissed off. And I saw it and he started walking over me with his putter. And I'm like, oh shit. I start running towards the golf carts down this hill and he's running after me and he falls. And when he falls, he lands on his finger and dislocates his ring finger. And so we get in, he's wearing a white shirt. We get in towards the pro shop at Glen Eagles where there's 1,000 members. People are hitting it Saturday afternoon. And in my mind, it was like 20 people. It's like, rough sport, huh, Art? And he just wants to kill me, just trying to get me to the car so he can spank me. That's how I remember the story.
And so it had to get cut off.
Yeah.
It had to get cut off.
But you weren't chasing him down trying to hit him in the head with your putter.
No,
That's
I hit
been
him on the
fabricated.
green.
Our dad was trying to hit him in the head with his putter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, that's what he was trying to do.
All right. So you leave Houston and you get to Dallas and you guys join Glen Eagles.
Correct.
And there was a young group at Glen Eagles that was pretty good golfers that y'all got plugged in with immediately. were you already good at golf prior to getting to Glen Eagles, or was Glen Eagles when it started to kind of take shape?
I think we were probably, nothing special, could hit the ball, could, go play 9 holes by ourselves at the time, or maybe 18 when we got there, but weren't like world beaters by any stretch of the imagination.
We were winning local stuff, right?
I mean,
NTPGAs and stuff.
Well, that's when we started playing it. We were in the STPGA before.
Yeah, we were not one of those.
I personally remember being 9 years old in Laredo shooting 65 on 9 holes. I don't think I was a world beater. I was kind of like, why am I playing golf? Anyways, so we did that. Moved to Dallas. That's when we really started playing a lot more, because we stopped playing baseball because it was select in Dallas at that time. My dad's like, we're not doing that. So we're going to play golf. And so we had a lot more time in the spring when you play a lot in the summer. And so we started playing NTPGAs. And wildly enough, a couple of the best players in the DFW area were a guy named Andrew Dresser, Matt Rosenfeld, and Jeff Bell. And Matt Rosenfeld at the time was already considered like the next Tiger Woods. I mean, he had won Junior Worlds and all this stuff, and they were at Glen Eagles. And so we played with them. And so we started playing NTPGAs, and they kind of kicked our butts at the start. But we just did it every day and finally kind of caught up and were able to compete with them over time.
Is that how you remember it?
Yeah, I think the big reason we got as good as we did as quick as we did was because of Glen Eagles. I think if we were at any different club in Dallas, I think Rosenfeld, Dresser, Bell, all of us would say the same thing. I mean, 5 of us all went on full rides to D1 schools.
Okay, if you are a real estate company or an operator of a business with multiple entities or bank accounts, listen to this. So at Fort, we just solved one of our biggest problems by hiring a company called Vesto. And that problem is we have over 20 different banks we work with. And so that is over 20 different logins. None of them share information with each other. And it takes our team hundreds of hours of every month to log in and not just see our account balances, but all the transactions associated with those balances. Now insert Vesto. Vesto is a one-stop shop where you can log all of your bank accounts onto one screen and see everything in one visual. Now, if you're a company like ours where you have multiple people that have access to each bank, that's giving everybody access to one screen, and it makes it, one, easy to see all your cash balances and saves the time of having to literally log in to 20 different bank accounts. So I strongly recommend you go to vesto.com/Fort. And when you're there, remember to tell them that Fort sent you, and you'll get a call with my friend and founder of the company, Ben, and they'll work with you directly.
Is there like a moment that you remember that you were like, all right, and you don't have to brag on yourself, but you're like, all right, we're pretty good at this. Like, we're clearly starting to separate ourselves from the pack. Was that just after getting to Dallas still young, or was that like late middle school? Like, was there a day that you're like, all right, we kind of got this thing?
Yeah, for me, it was later. I would say kind of like 7th, 8th grade. I remember winning the Texas State junior tournament, which was like the biggest tournament in the state at the time. And in 7th or 8th grade, I won that. And I was like, damn, I mean, I can play, shot under par scores. And I think at that moment I was like, okay, I can really do something here.
I was winning more local stuff, but Tyler was being a little older, so I was kind of older for the age group I was playing in, I guess, and I was winning. But I played well at a tournament, MCI Heritage, when I was 12 or 13, and the only reason I was just there with Tyler because they're like, you're third alternate, so I got up there. Well, I had the lead with like a few holes to play against a bunch of 18-year-olds, and I didn't win. I kind of choked, but that was like my first big, like, playing against guys from other states, and I was like, oh, I guess I am good enough to do this.
All right, Matt Rosenfeld, if you're listening to this, did you or did you not crash a golf cart into the lake at Glen Eagles and try walking with your golf bags back like nothing ever happened?
Well, the best part of the story is it was only 80% his fault, as he said.
Who's the other 20%?
It was me, because I was riding in the passenger seat eating my hot dog. He said I should have been paying attention. And it's also my fault as well while we drove in the lake.
He was really big on that.
It was really funny. And yes, we did try to just leave the cart and act like it would never happen. But the mistake we made and to all kids listening, do not leave your scorecard with your names on it if you leave a card in the water.
It wasn't us. There's a golf cart.
It was the 16th hole, and there's 2 lakes, and there's a bend where you kind of have to turn so you don't drive it in the lake. Head down. Rosenfeld's looking at something. They went straight into it. Would you get suspended for a week or something?
Probably. I can't remember the length of it, but yeah, we got suspended. I remember they're like, y'all drove it in there. No, it wasn't us. Is this not your name? Matt Roosevelt, Tyler Leon.
And they stole the golf cart because we were 13. You weren't even allowed to.
We did steal it. It's a double whammy.
We're sorry, Glen Eagles.
Yeah.
To this day.
Hey, I'm still sorry, guys.
To this day, we're still sorry.
I'm sorry.
All right. So middle school, you're good. You start winning tournaments. You're a few years back. You're getting better. What was the decision to go to IMG? Was that because y'all were good at golf, you wanted to kind of accelerate it, or was there a different reason to go to IMG?
I mean, you got to ask your dad, but I kind of remember Tyler and Taylor kind of being collateral damage. I wasn't doing great at school. I was kind of getting in trouble. My dad was talking about sending me to like Harlingen Military Academy or NIMI in Roswell. And
I remember I got a NIMI threat at one point.
So he talked about Culver, then he saw how much it costs. You're going Harlingen. But luckily, I was playing good at golf and I was really liking it. And so there's a buddy, Ty Tryon.
Yeah.
Who I think Ty's coach now, but he got his PGA Tour card. Ty got it when he was like 16 or 17.
Yeah.
Ty was a really good golfer playing AJGAs against us, and he just started going to IMG, and his dad, Bill, told our dad about it. So our dad flew down, looked at it, like came back, and was like, you're going there next year. In like 2 months, we're moving. You're going to Florida. And so that was kind of it.
Were you happy about that?
I was not happy about it.
You were not, because you were wrestling, weren't you?
I had no interest. I was like, I'm good. Life's good. Golf's fun, but like, I'm not like obsessed. I'm
good, but I'm not obsessed.
I was good playing other sports. I was good at other sports, and I was like, I don't really see why I need to move down here. But I tell you what, the greatest thing he ever did, and I actually told him this the other day. I said the moving part, golf, I got better there because I was more focused and could only do that. But he gave us a book called Who Moved My Cheese? And it's all about change and accepting change, understanding change is going to happen. You can't just keep doing the same things and expect better results. And it's a phenomenal book. And of course, we drove to Florida, which was like 18 hours. So at first, I'm not reading this effing book. And then I'm getting pretty bored because it's pre-iPads and all that. And I'm like, I can only play the sign game so many times or be pissed. So I start reading the book, and I'll be damned. I read the book, and I kind of opened up my mind, and I was like, all right, maybe that book makes sense. I'll give it a try. So, and a lot of those things that I read in the book have stuck with me since.
Who Moved the Cheese?
Who Moved the Cheese?
Yeah.
Something like
Johnny, drop it in the link.
that. Yeah. Good book.
Great book.
So you read the book on the way,
Yep.
and you get there, you're a little more excited. Did you land there and you're already enrolled, hit the golf course immediately as soon as you got there, or
pretty much like the next day? I mean, yeah.
And you were more excited to get there.
Well, my options were Harlingen Military Academy, but all boys school. But I really liked lacrosse and I liked wrestling. I liked playing team sports. I liked all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought I wanted to be a professional golfer at like 10 years old.
Yeah.
Tyler wasn't there. So yeah, I was cool with it, and I wasn't doing well at school. I heard the school was easier at IMG. That sounded great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I was excited.
Who are some of the players you played with there that people would remember today?
Casey Wittenberg was.
Yeah.
Ty Tryon, Casey. There's a guy, Christo Grayling, who's a world beater. Christo's, I think he's doing really well. He's in Atlanta or near Jupiter, but
he's in Jupiter now.
He's in Jupiter.
Sean O'Hare was there.
Drew, David Gossett came back a lot.
Yeah.
He was there before us. But really, Jonathan Moore, he won a national championship with us at Oklahoma State.
Yep.
JC Deacon, he's now the head coach at Florida. He was a good college player. But Peter Uline is kind of the best probably that went there, that came out. And then
Currently, yeah.
I think Grillo went there for a couple years, but that was way after us.
Do you still stay in touch with IMG, or is it kind of as alumni, or it's not like a big deal once you move on?
I've not been there since the day pretty much I graduated. Now Tyler's gone back.
Yeah, I've taken the kids to a couple camps over the summers, but there's no one to really stay in touch with. Most of the I think almost every instructor but one has rotated out. I did say hi to the guy that's down there now.
Is it?
But
better?
It's all new faces.
Is it better? Is it improved?
That's a good question. I mean, I saw some of the stuff they're doing with the boys. My daughter's doing tennis, boys are doing golf. It's hard to say if it's improved because it's just like a week-long camp.
Yeah.
But I think it seems like it's really good. And, IMG is transformed now where, basketball and football they're big into. When we were there, the sports were, tennis and golf, and the under 20 soccer team was there for the national team. So that was the main focus. That shifted now to all these different sports.
Yeah.
But I think it's still, you would get a lot better, but it's not as important as it probably once was.
Yeah.
Because the instruction was so much better than what you can probably get now.
And you basically, go ahead.
Well, when we first got there was 50 of us on
Yeah.
the golf, or maybe 60, and there 20 of us were really good.
Yeah.
And, I think now there's a couple hundred. And so, we had 8 to a group, and there's kind of 2 better groups. But all the instructors were if I don't know what number would probably be better, but you get 200 kids and maybe, I don't know, 5 or 10 of them are really good. And you got 190 of them that are, I'm not saying they're bad, but maybe they're not going to play D1 golf.
Yep.
So it's probably not as an environment that we were in back then.
And you go to school for a few hours and then you play golf all day.
You'd go work out 6:30 to 7:30, 3 days a week. And
Yeah.
This is at 13 years old,
Yeah.
12 years old. You get to school, or maybe it's 6 to 7. School started at 7:30. You're out at 11:30. Golf 1 to whenever you wanted to stop.
Okay.
So it's like college. It's
Yeah.
all block scheduling.
But did you play other high schools? How did high school golf work for y'all?
So you don't have to, but we were asked. And so the school you go to is like a local private school in the Bradenton area. It's called St. Stephen's, or you could go to Bradenton High School.
Yeah, there's 2 of them.
Yeah. At the time. Now they have their own high school at IMG, but at the time we went, you kind of had those 2 options. And so we went, I'd say half the population or 60% of the population of those schools were regular kids who had no affiliation with IMG. And then the other were people who were at IMG. And so when golf season came around, we really we were not planning on playing for the high school team. They'd ask you, but we were playing all these national tournaments and doing that. Well, they had a great coach, a guy named Mike LaValliere, and he kind of reached out. I remember him reaching out to me, and he was a 10-year MLB baseball player.
Spanky.
His nickname was Spanky. And he played for the Pirates with Barry Bonds and all these guys, and just a really cool guy. And he's like, look, I'm just going to ask you guys to play in the important tournaments. Like, you do your deal. I get it. And let's just go have fun doing that. I was like, yeah, we'll do that. So that's what we did. We would basically just play a couple regular seasons so we could qualify for the postseason, and we would go play those. And so we did compete against the local high schools.
Yeah, we went state. We did that one year. We went state. I think you were state champion wrestler in Texas, and in the same year you were state champion golfer in Florida.
I was a state champion golfer in Texas and the state champion wrestler in Texas. And then I won the state championship in golf in Florida. I don't know what year, as a junior or senior or something like that. And we won the state title as a team as well.
All right. When did college offers start coming in? Now these days, kids are getting college offers in 6th grade. When did they start? Or when did you know, okay, we could probably play D1 golf? And does that happen freshman year, sophomore year? Was it different for both of y'all?
It might have been earlier for him. I mean, I think mine was sophomore year. Letters started coming in.
From who?
A lot. I mean, I think my very first letter was actually from Alabama.
Really?
And
were they good at the time?
They were not as good at the time.
Yeah.
He had watched me play some stuff like 8th grade, 9th grade, and kind of like what he saw. But then the offers just start piling in from sophomore to junior year.
Yeah, I was freshman, sophomore. But you get them,
how do they work?
Everyone's different. Like Harvard sent me a letter. Oh, and I remember talking to him. Have you seen my GPA?
I was about to go to NIMI last year.
Dude. But you get letters from all these guys, and everyone does it different. You'll get a handwritten one from the coach, which a lot of them are. I don't know if they do that for everyone or how they decide that. But A&M, I remember that theirs was pretty exhausting. They'd send you something every Monday, and it'd be about one of their traditions. So the dog, then the fish camp, and I know all this stuff about A&M just from the recruiting. I'm I'm never going to this place.
No offense, Garrett.
Yeah, no offense, Garrett. But they're all different, and they're not allowed to talk to you, so they just send you these letters. And I'm jumping ahead here, but that you go to these AJGAs in the summer, and the coaches come out and watch, and you can kind of tell who wants you. I think the Arkansas and then the Arizona coach watched me like every round I played for 3 years. But Mike Holder's bit, who's the Oklahoma State legend, AD, Tyler got to play for me, recruited me, but he's coach forever. I think he won 9 national championships, like completely changed college golf. He would come up and watch you play, and he can't talk to you. So you'd be warming up, and he'd grab your bag, and he'd start going through all your clubs, didn't care where he put them back in. And then he would stand so close to you, legs spread, arms crossed. You would think you'd hit him. Like if you're starting at the sandwich and you pulled your driver out and he didn't move, you'd hit him in the nose with your driver. Like that's how close he'd stand. He wanted to see how you would do, feeling uncomfortable, but he was kind of, the coach is coming out watch us. Yeah.
So how did you make because you had to make the first decision.
Yes. And
so what was it between?
So at that time I was playing really well. I was one of the top players in the country and getting recruited by a lot of programs, and fortunately, which is great. And I guess IMG was paying off because I was able to go where I kind of wanted to go. And so I was in between. I'd settled in my mind with Texas, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Oklahoma State. And I liked the coaches. I'd kind of got to meet them. That's how I narrowed it down. They were also all top programs. And I kind of thought initially that I wanted to go to Texas or Georgia Tech because Texas was a great school and, grew up in Texas, sounded interesting. I didn't really know much about Oklahoma State except their golf history. And Georgia Tech was really good at the time.
Was that like Bryce Mulder era?
Yeah, he was there. They were really good.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, that sounds kind of cool. And so I went to all the trips. And man, when I went to Oklahoma State, I was like, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And Casey Wittenberg and I really wanted to go to the same college. At the time, he was the number 1 player in the country. I was probably top 10 or something like that. And we had gone on recruiting trips together. And man, we both went to the Oklahoma State one and like, it's a no-brainer. Because you get up there, first of all, they were, at that time, they were able to come pick us up on a plane and take us out there. It was amazing. So that part as a kid, you're like, wow. And we also fly these to every tournament. I'm like, that's cool. And then you go to Carson Creek, which is this golf course they have there it was really built for the golf program. It's owned by the golf team, not the university. It was unique. And you just see the wall of like one national championship after another, all American who's on tour. And it's like, at that moment in my life, I thought I for sure knew I was going to be on the PGA Tour. There's no doubt. So this is where I'm going. And I love the small town feel of Stillwater. We grew up going to a ranch as kids. So like that felt really comfortable. And it was just a no brainer and said, I'm going here. And so that was how my process went. And that's how I chose it.
Was it weird for you when he was out of the house and gone?
Well, I got bridged in 8th grade. So I hadn't hit puberty yet. And my parents are like,
didn't your dad think like you wouldn't hit puberty?
In all honesty, like at this point, my grades have gotten better because I went at St. Mark's and in Dallas, which is a hard school. But I just hadn't hit puberty yet. My dad's like, you're not going to high school without hitting puberty. I was like, God. So I'm praying for puberty every night. It didn't come, but I get held back. So Tyler ended up going from 1 to 2 years ahead of me. And then I bounced back with my sister in the same classes with me.
Yep.
Who my sister and all of us are great friends, and Taylor and I had a lot of fun together. But what was really tough was my senior year. I mean, I'm 19 years old in high school, and my buddies are all at UT. You're hanging out with my buddies at TCU that I grew up with, and we are going on spring break trips, and I'm like stuck in Bradenton, Florida, like retirement capital of the world. And Tyler's playing college golf, and the guys it was just like I was definitely jealous, but at the same time, my sister and I and mom and dad, I got to spend a ton of time with my sister, which was awesome. We played a lot of golf together. So it was great. I worked my butt off because I saw how good he was playing his freshman year. So it wasn't weird, but I was jealous.
What colleges were you in between?
Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma State. I considered Arizona for a while, but those were probably the top 3. My dad really didn't want me to go to UT because I had so many friends down there from Dallas. So I kind of agreed with him. So I ended up in Georgia and Oklahoma State.
What's your recollection of why you chose Oklahoma State?
So Georgia just beat y'all, and then they were like top. It was Oklahoma State and Georgia.
We were the best 2 programs.
Who was on the Oklahoma State team and who was on the Georgia team at this era?
It was really good.
Yeah, Georgia was like Kisner, Chris Kirk, Brendan Todd. Then Harmon just Brian Harmon and I are good friends in junior golf.
Yeah.
And so Brian was kind of pushing me to go up there as well. And he just committed. And at Oklahoma State, it was what, Noren, you,
Pablo Martin,
Pablo.
Casey Wimberger just turned pro. I guess Jonathan Moore came the year before.
Yeah, Jay Moore came the year before, which Jay Moore, we all went to IMG together, Tyler and I, Jay Moore and Casey. And so if Tyler would have gone to LSU, I think all four of us would have gone to LSU, or whatever Tyler went, we're probably all going to end up going.
Yeah.
So I called Tyler, and well, I think in my mind, I was kind of leaning towards Georgia. I had a lot of fun on my recruiting trip. The coach, Coach Hack's a great guy, just like a fun guy to be around. Holder's like a military dictator type thing. And I was a little nervous we would clash. And so I wake up one morning, I'm reading Golf Week, which was this big magazine that come out every week. And they did a big deal in college. And it says, Taylor Leon commits to Georgia. And I was like, what? My parents hadn't told me. She committed like a month before. They didn't want to like tell me about it. I was like, well, eventually I'm going to find out. And so I'm like, God. So I bring it up. I'm like, why? You know, so they didn't want to tell me, but Taylor definitely needed to get away from me because I wouldn't let her have a boyfriend, a life. Like I just, you know, our little sister. But I'm still like kind of leaning towards Georgia a week after this. So I'm like, I'm going to sleep on it. So I called Tyler and I just tell him like, I think I'm going to go to Georgia. And Tyler didn't say a word my entire recruiting process. And, the first time I ever said anything is after I think I'm going to go to Georgia. And he's like, man, I've been real quiet about this. You're coming here, coming to Oklahoma State. We're going to win a national championship. We're going to get on the PGA Tour. You're going to be an All-American. You're living with me. You're coming here. So I called the coach the next morning and told him I was going to Oklahoma State. That all sounds good to me.
All right. We're going to talk about Oklahoma State for a bit. But before we do that, I think everybody that knows y'all knows it's unique. 3 kids, 3 D1 golfers. I know it's a Katie and an Art thing, but Art was very into golf. What would you say was like the overarching parenting strategy or thing that came to where you have a family that's kind of all top of their game in their respective deals?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. He was really passionate about the game. He wanted to go all the time to play golf himself, and then he saw talent in us, and he wanted to, you know, nourish that and try to blossom it, and that's what he did. And so he saw ability, and so he took us out there, and he tried to get us the best, you know, coaches that he could, and get us in the best competition. And he had a real passion for it, which was, you know, anyone knows our dad. He's a super positive guy and kind of thinks you can do anything.
The most positive.
Yeah, and he's always been like that. And it wasn't always with golf; it's with everything. He's just like, you know, dream big and go do it. And in his mind, he thought that's what could be greater than having my 3 kids be professional athletes. Like that would be awesome. You know, I wish I had these opportunities growing up a poor kid in Memphis, and I love sports, and I didn't really have those opportunities. And so, you know, he did that with us. And I just think it was an everyday drive. And it wasn't like, look, he pushed us, but not like some of these horror stories you hear. He pushed us in a really healthy way of like, here's how you are great at anything. And you put forth the effort. And so anyways, I think he was a huge factor in it, or he was a giant factor in it.
Yeah. Like, you know, I still don't sit on the couch on Saturday and Sunday mornings. And our dad just didn't let us sit around. And so if we weren't going to play golf, we'd have to go get a job. And that wasn't even a consideration by the time we got to 13. I mean, we all wanted to play golf. But he made, like, as a little kid, I thought I could run through a wall if my dad told me I could. Like, he just built it up. Like in wrestling, like, I don't think I was that good of a wrestler, but before I got on the mat, he'd be like pumping me up like I could go beat, you know, whoever just won the Olympic gold. And he kind of probably thought I could have. I mean, I don't know. I mean, think I could.
I'm pretty sure after an amateur event we recently played in, like, he said something like, basically like, I think you could still be on tour.
Oh,
he like, and I'm not saying you couldn't or you could, but he 100% says it in a way of like, you could be on tour.
He's texting me during the Masters. He's like, if you would have won that Mid-Am, you could win this damn tournament. Yeah, Dad, I hit it 280. There's no way.
I asked Taylor. She said nobody believed in their kids as much. He goes, as our dad did. It was a confidence like I can't describe. She said he was always helping us, always giving us advice, like literally after every shot, every practice ball, do this, do that. And we would look at him and be like, Dad, we got it. I got it. And he would look at us and say, Taylor, Tyler, Trent, you ain't got shit. And then we would just put our head back down and keep hitting balls. But Art's a legend, and obviously you're just remarkable, and you just don't hear that story very often. Three kids all being really, really good.
Yeah, he was pretty selfless, gave up a lot for golf. And I think it's a testament to having a positive attitude. I mean,
he's got a positive attitude. And his brother, I didn't meet all his brothers. Larry.
Yeah.
Most positive guy on the freaking plane.
They all are. It's crazy.
Like, get mad about something. Here, come hang out with me for a day. All right. So you're both at OSU. We don't have to spend the whole time there. Let's just talk about the 06 championship season and then the season that got away. I don't know if you were still there yet. The year that y'all won stroke play by like 18 and then lost to Georgia in the finals.
Well, he had one at Cays Valley. They should have won, and they underperformed.
What happened there?
Yeah. We were the number one team by like a landslide in 05.
Okay.
I think we won every tournament.
That was your first year or second
year?
Okay.
And we were so much better than everyone. And I think we maybe lost 3 times during the regular season, just kind of won everything. And, for whatever reason, just we all played like crap at the Nationals. And I don't even blame it up to nerves or whatever. Like, you just played bad at the wrong time. And so that was a pretty big letdown. And so it was cool to go back in 06 and play. We were playing really well once again. And it was awesome to do it. I was a junior, Trent was a freshman. And it was really cool to do with your brother and go win. And it was an incredible feeling. I mean, one story I've got to share, after knowing we should have won my sophomore year, like really, like I've never felt nerves like that ever again. The final morning waking up, did we have the lead or a couple back? I can't remember.
It was us, Wake, and Florida, but we're all like jammed in there.
Anyways, we were jammed in there, and it was cool because another guy we played with on the team, Jonathan Moore won individually. Pablo Martin got there. Well, Pablo Martin was a freak of all freaks. He was better than anyone in the country. He had already won a European tour event at 19.
Didn't finish out top 5 all year.
Yeah, just unreal. And it was cool to like rehash notes with him on the way home. All of us had the same thing. None of us could sleep going before the final round. And it was like your heart was beating out your chest when you woke up that morning. I still have never felt that in a golf tournament, and played in really big stuff later in life. And we kind of hashed notes with them later on. Like they still hadn't either. It was really cool that it meant that much to all of us. And we wound up in Bend, Oregon, and it was awesome.
And who'd you beat in the finals? Oh, was it match play at the time?
It was stroke.
It was still stroke.
But the Florida team.
And you were a couple back going into the final day. In 06.
It sounds terrible. I don't even remember.
Yeah. Okay. But it was close enough. You weren't like running away with it.
No, we were not.
It was close.
I remember with 9 holes, we might have had like a 1-shot lead or something. And there's this par 5, and maybe it's the 12th or 13th hole. But at the time, I would have to like driver, 3-wood, like wedge, or if I had driver 4-iron, I'd have a 7-iron in. But there's water left, OB right. And I mean, all of us talked about that hole after. I think we played that hole 1 under as a team. And I bet no one else was even close to par. But on Florida was Billy Herschel was on that team, and Matt Every, both 4-time first team All-Americans. They had some
PGA Tour winners.
Yeah, they had some other studs I can't remember. But then Wake Forest had Webb Simpson and a couple other guys that were All-Americans. But we beat some good teams. It was fun.
And when you obviously were top 5 as a freshman.
Yeah, I played every tournament in college. I missed one. I went down to Austin for a weekend and came back Monday and did not play very well. And I paid the price.
Wait, real quick. In 05, did you lose in like a nail biter? Or did you guys just not even come close?
No, we finished like 6th place. It was like crazy how bad we did.
And who was on the 06 team?
06 was Trent and I, Jonathan Moore, Pablo Martin, and Zach Robinson.
Okay.
Who's actually a Fort Worth native as well. Lives in Oklahoma City now.
Okay. And did you ever sniff another national championship before you left? Because you graduated 07, you graduated 09.
Yeah,
Tell us about the Georgia heartbreak.
Well, the year before Georgia, my junior year, we came in 3rd. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we came in 3rd. And I mean, we had the lead, and UCLA ended up coming in Ricky and I made some big scores coming in on the second round. We had a pretty big lead, and I think I finished like triple-double. Ricky finished maybe double-double. And anyways, we kind of gave that one away, got away from us. But yeah, so my senior year, Ricky Fowler, Kevin Tway, Morgan Hoffman, Peter Uline, and me. And I think I played 3-guy. Morgan was a stud. Morgan probably would have gotten player of the year if Ricky didn't. So we win stroke play. This is the first year they moved it to match play. The reason they moved it to match play is Mike Holder, the Oklahoma State AD, wanted it to be match play and been pushing it forever. So it's kind of our own fault, but we played Georgia first match. Hudson Swafford signed for 1 high, so we shouldn't even have played them, but we ended up getting, they're the 8th team, we were the first team. And on the Georgia team, Brian Harmon, Russell Henley, Harris English, Hudson Swafford, and a Walker Cupper named Adam Mitchell. So Adam and I are the only 2 that didn't play on the PGA Tour. It's a pretty stacked. I thought I was playing some pretty good golf. I lose 4-3 to Russell Henley. He just wore me out. I thought I could keep up with him by about the 6th, 7th hole. I was like, looked at my dad. I don't know if I got enough juice for this guy. But I think Harmon, he beat Ricky like maybe the last 3 holes to win 1 up. He really sacked up. We lost. I think A&M won. We beat A&M that year at their home course by like 40-something shots. And beat them in the Big 12 by like 50-something shots. And they ended up winning the tournament.
And that was your last college golf tournament?
I went and played the Palmer Cup the next week. And then I was just in such a hurry. God forbid I wait around for try to make a Walker Cup team. I was in such a hurry to play the Hooters Tour. I turned pro.
Really?
Yeah.
And were you on the Hooters Tour yet?
I was playing.
It was Hooters. Hooters turned into what? Corn Ferry?
No, there was
Hooters nationwide.
Yeah, the way pro golf works, there's basically many tours like the Hooters Tour, Adams Tour. There's a bunch of them, Gateway Tour, and so that's kind of like you put up your own cash pot in a way with a little sponsor dollars there to juice the pot. And then there's nationwide corn. I guess it's called the Corn Ferry now. We used to call it the nationwide. Was the tour owned by the PGA right below the PGA Tour in a way to graduate onto the PGA Tour. And so
yeah,
that's kind of, and then there's the PGA, and that's kind of what it looks like on the pro landscape. And so my career, I was a mix of the Hooters Tour and Corn Ferry, and I played for 4 years as pro.
Didn't you Monday into the Houston PGA event?
I did. Yeah.
That was one of your last events, right?
Yeah, it was actually it was a really cool thing. It was my greatest accomplishment, I guess you could say, outside winning, lower level pro tournaments or having status on the Corn Ferry. I Mondayed into the Shell Houston Open. It's also one of the reasons why I quit, which is
you're like,
I just, it was, I guess an interesting way to say it is you see how good they are day to day. Phil Mickelson was close to my locker, and I got to chat up with him a little bit and see him play. He played in a group in front of me. And it was fascinating to me. I was just like, man, there's some really good players and, names you kind of forget over time. And I'm in these Monday qualifiers. I'm like, damn, this guy, Chris Riley, was in the Ryder Cup 6 years before. How's he at a Monday qualifier with me?
Yeah.
And I just saw how good you have to be all the time. And the fascinating thing was I remember I was traveling and I would buy those Forbes magazines and kind of read, something to read. And I remember it was like Forbes 400, right? And the 400th guy's worth $1 billion.
There's no
like,
golfers on that.
If you're first of all, there's no golfers. And second of all, I'm reading the Forbes 400. I'm like, okay, if you're the 400th best golfer, you're worth like $70,000.
Yeah.
And you're like really good. You shoot under par all the time. You can qualify into the Shell Houston Open. You can have status on the nationwide. It's hard. And I was like, it was an aha moment. It's like, okay, man, you can keep grinding this out and you'll probably be a journeyman. Best you'll have some status on tour and you'll have some status. You go back and forth, or you can go try to be the 400 best at something and you'll do better.
Was it like was it sad to come to the decision that like a golf career is coming to an end, or was it actually pretty like logical? Like, this is the obvious thing I should
No, it's like light bulb moments people have in their lives, right? Yeah. It was not sad. I never had to look back one time and be like, man, I wish I tried harder. I think a lot of the sadness comes from a lot of that.
Yeah.
It's like, I wish I'd done this or that. It's like, no, I mean, I poured everything into it. I didn't have a plan B. I thought this was it. And I worked hard at it every day and was thorough about it. And it felt great. I was like, damn, you gave it your best. This is the reality. And let's go try to be great at something else.
So you finished that tournament. Did you make the decision like that next week that like how many more tournaments did you play?
That next Monday, I got into Mexico City, for
Which was PGA?
no, it was a Corn Ferry, Corn Ferry event, and because I had status on the Corn Ferry, and so they're like, "Hey, you're in Mexico City next week," and I was like, "Damn, I don't want to go." That was my first thought when I got the call. It was the first time I said I don't want to go.
Yeah,
because of all these things colliding, and I was like, "You need to do something else. If that's your feeling at this stage, you need to do something else."
Mine's similar. I mean, you find out pretty quick how many good golfers there are when you get out of college. Like being the best in college, I mean, it's not easy, but it's a lot easier than being the best golfer from 18 years old to 50 years old in the entire world.
Yeah.
But you don't realize that until you get thrown out there. I got my ass kicked pretty good on the Hooters tour with guys that are playing like D3 colleges and stuff. I'm like, I kind of was going through some chip yips. And I was just
remember the chip.
I was like, but I got to final stage in European Tour School a couple times, played on the Challenge Tour. I never played great, had some top tens, but got to go to Kenya, India, all over Europe. Djibouti. So played with a lot of good players, but it was like when Tyler quit, I was shocked. And then at the same time, though, I'm traveling around. Like, I mean, I call my dad. We played in Essex, and I think Tommy Fleetwood shot 63, and I played good, and I shot 69, and that's kind of one of the best rounds I had in a while. It was really tough conditions, and then like Brendan Gray shot like 65. I'm in like 16th, 20th place or something, tied with another 20 guys at 69. And I call her dad, and I'm like, God, he's like, how'd you play? I was like, well, played really good. I was like, but the cut's gonna be like, I'm gonna shoot 200 tomorrow, I'm gonna miss the cut. And I just was like, I could not have shot 63 or 65. I mean, maybe I could have shot 68. But at that moment, I was he was 6 months removed, maybe a year. And I just kind of was like, honestly, you and I were rooming together.
Yeah, I remember.
You were making money in real estate. I'm losing money in golf every week. And it sucked. I didn't feel good about myself. Missed 4 cuts in a row and, $30,000. And so, seeing you doing well, and our buddy Streeter was doing really well, and that NTR Metals, or what the hell they did, but they're buying me dinner. I'm like, God, I need to get a job. So anyways, I was more like just looking around. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And so I quit the next day, and I don't really look back at anything, and I still don't. And I didn't have any regrets about it.
Yeah.
It was a great time of my life, a lot of fun. Love all the guys I met out there, and try to stay in touch with them.
And now we're resurrecting what's going to be a storied amateur career. And we'll talk about that in episode 689. All right. So I thought that would be cool to kind of just set the stage. I think golf's obviously a big part of your life. So you get out. We don't have to go through step by step. Now let's just kind of talk about oil and gas, what you've been in. Anybody listening to this, you can go back to episode 89 if you want to hear early on in the story. I kind of just want to pick up with kind of what's going on. It's been honestly like 4.5 years since we recorded the first one. And I'll say a little bit of a joke, but oil's hovering around 65 right now. Trump, we love him, but he's brought that price down. Maybe we're
love him?
Maybe we're Kamala guys. But I just wanted to start with kind of how are you thinking about the oil and gas industry like today specific? You can take that however you want, but what's going on today? You're obviously a lot more educated on it than you were 4.5 years ago.
Sure.
What's good to know?
Well, I mean, I think, I guess we started this business in 2014, right? So it's been 11 years, had different administrations, all different types of pricing, and different catastrophes happen in the market and sort of thing. And so, looking at it now, yeah, sure. Do I wish oil was higher than 65 and operators were dropping rigs right now? You bet. It's better when things are hot. But the positive thing with Trump for an oil and gas guy, a lot of people think it's always pricing, but commodity prices are a big part, but it changes all the time anyways. The nice thing with him involved is, hey, we're not trying to in the business in 5 years. So when the Biden administration was in, investors, the capital behind public stock markets and private equity groups and all that, they were starting to hang at 0 10 years out on the curves for oil and gas investments. So if they're looking at an investment, you basically need a double, in 4 years because they're putting a 0 in 10 years. And
Oh.
it just really, it made so many people leave the industry as investors, which is tough, right? Because ours is a capital intensive industry that needs new capital all the time. And so with even lower prices, the great thing is investors are coming back to our space and realize it's around for a lot longer than 10 years.
Yeah.
And I think that's a truth everyone is seeing. I mean, I'd love to give a shout out to Kelsey Warren and his commercial he did during the Super Bowl. I mean, I thought it was fantastic to really paint that picture. And he did a phenomenal job that I think a lot of the world doesn't know. And the U.S. does it better than anyone on the clean part of oil and gas. I mean, the rules and regulations in place, it couldn't be done any better. And so, yeah, it's a great time to be in our industry. There's still a lot of tailwinds behind us.
Awesome. You got anything?
Yeah, I mean, when we started, it was like shale revolution, cowboys. Everyone loved the oil and gas guys. We're saving America. To you get a couple Democrats in office back to back, and all of a sudden we're villains, and they want us to pump more to lower prices, but then they want us to end our business. And it was just a confusing message.
Yeah.
But they made everyone not like us. And then now, like Kelsey Warren's ad on the Super Bowl is great. Landman, I've had more people.
Such a great show.
Yeah, great or not, it's good pub for us.
Yeah.
And I have friends from all over the country, like Oregon, and we have different beliefs and whatever, but they're texting me loving the show, and just at least getting a snippet, if you believe it or not, or whatever, like someone talking good about our industry, like that hadn't happened in a long time.
I think it's and Aubrey did it with Chesapeake. There used to be billboards all over, when he was fracking in the Barnett. I think the biggest whiff that the oil and gas hadn't figured out, and maybe they are now through the media, is like just having good marketing for the industry. It just hasn't really existed for a while. What about the Permian specifically? As a bit of an outsider that knows a little bit, I would read, oh, they're running out of inventory. All the tier one's gone. There's people that say it's 10 to 12 years out and it's done. Is that there's truth to that?
I mean, I think
a little bit
when you
quick.
say inventory, we were actually talking about this earlier. Tier one inventory is probably shorter dated, let's call it 5 to 7 years. But that's tier one. That doesn't mean there's not more oil, right?
Yeah.
And so there's tier two and there's tier three, which maybe it needs a little bit higher prices to work. But there's still the resource there. And then beyond that, like our industry has always done, is it's always found a way to kind of find new hydrocarbons, maybe in large oil fields, or, there's a new play that rises. And so there's still plenty to be done in our industry. And I think it'll come from technology enhancements as much as anything.
Yeah. I mean, inventory, there's going to be less inventory tomorrow than there is today. Find new resource or not. I mean, it's depleting assets. So every time you drill a well, there's less inventory.
Yeah.
But tier one is getting drilled out at very quick paces. And that's in every basin. Like people were all hot on Oklahoma the last 6 months, but now we're sitting here at $60 oil. A lot of Oklahoma probably doesn't work.
And how do you define tier one? Cheap, cost to produce the most oil possible.
Probably highest margin barrels.
Best, yeah. Highest margin barrels.
So you make money at $30, $35. That's tier one inventory.
Okay, so a new play that, or maybe it's not new, it's new to, I haven't heard it as much, but they found the Barnett in the Permian.
Right.
Okay. So has that always been known? Like, it's almost like we just figured this thing out. There's the Barnett Shale. It's the new thing, but it's like, well, with geology, haven't we known that that's the case for a long, long time? Like, how do these things kind of come up by surprise that you could have probably seen on a map for a long time?
Well, they need more inventory. So now they're going to test it. Right.
So they knew about it, but they're just not testing it.
Yeah. And with new frac designs, it's working. It's getting easier to drill. They understand it. It's not easy to drill compared to like going to drill the Sprayberry at a shallower zone. You're not going to lose many wells drilling a horizontal well.
But as a mineral or non-op buyer, you can't underwrite the Barnett as being part of the pay stack until somebody's proven that it's part of the pay stack.
That's right.
So then it just becomes like a bonus.
2 years ago, we were not
even thinking about
engineering it, not putting in our deck. Now we can add value to it and we can pay those mineral owners more.
And you don't have to answer this. I'm sure. I don't know if it's probably not a secret. Like, is there another one of those in the Permian that's like in 2 years, this bench will now be being underwritten? And is there another hidden bench out there that's known but not being talked about?
I don't know if we know what that hidden bench is, but there's other formations, like the Woodford as well is being brought up with the Barnett right now.
In the Permian?
And the Permian, that's another deeper zone.
Coming out of, that's typically talked about in Oklahoma. So now it's being talked about in the Permian.
Correct. In the Permian as well.
There's shallower zones. I mean, there's resource, right? There, like,
but do you underwrite those resources?
No.
So it's all just bonus if you own something that ends up being a thing.
That's right.
Yeah. And we'll underwrite whatever we can underwrite because it's in the Permian, it's as competitive as it gets. And so, but the great thing about being in the Permian is, you know, like there's resource at 6,000 feet down to 15,000 feet. Now, maybe it doesn't work today, but will it work in 30 years? And if oil's at $100, it works.
Okay. So this is a perfect segue into kind of risk reward. If we went back, not even 4.5 years ago, but when y'all first started, fair to say that when y'all first started buying an Eddy and Lee, people were like confused at some of the stuff that y'all might be buying, or how could they be buying this stuff?
For sure.
Okay.
We've historically been called, you know, we pay too much.
All right. You said it, not me.
Yeah.
And then and then time goes by and you ended up making 10x or 15x on that stuff.
Right.
Has the same philosophy of risk reward just continued? Like, is it the same kind of thought process that you took back then when you were quote unquote overpaying? Like, how do you continue to look at things, or have people caught up to you more in the way y'all have thought about it from 10 years ago when you were a little more obscure, like you would be considered more outliers back then?
I think so. I mean, I think people have, I mean, there's more players, the rock's more delineated. And so we're all kind of looking at the same thing. Earlier on, you know, like when we first were buying in 14, people were like, there's one zone in the Delaware Basin. There's one zone. You can't pay for more than one zone. And we're like, well, there's more than one zone. Sure, maybe it hasn't been drilled widely enough to believe there's more than one zone, but we were like, well, we're happy to pay for 4. You know, one thing we've always done different, and maybe it's not always the right answer, is we don't get that tied up on IRR. And we're more MOIC guys. And then you got to risk reward. What is really the MOIC, the inventory you're looking at, right? Is it very delineated and you know it completely? So, or is it like some of these extra benches we're talking about today, right? Earlier on when they're not even really proven. And so I think it, you know, per example, it's like, let's just say you're looking at something and it's in this tier 1 area with a lot of zones. Maybe you say, okay, I'll buy it down to 13% IRR because I'm actually underwriting 5, but I see 7 possibly. But I'm willing to lean in because there's a decent chance of an option value here. Whereas if maybe I go to the edge and I don't really see a great option value, so I'm not going to buy it down to 13. I'll buy it at an 18, right? That's how we've kind of always viewed it. And we talked about this the other day. I think golf was and probably everyone can talk about this in sports they played or jobs they had. Like golf was a great example of risk reward. Should I go for this par 5 with the 3 iron in my hand over water, island green, or should I lay up, or, there's no trouble and I got a 6 iron. Yeah, I should go for it, and it's weird. I see a lot of similarities to the risk reward decisions you had to make in golf, in business.
That's why I'm not great at oil and gas. I'm always laying up short of the water with 7 iron. Going back real quick to just industry and talking about those benches, like Trump's come in hot, like drill, baby, drill. Obviously pricing's going down. So you're hearing rigs are getting laid down right now. Like, is this actually going to be a drill, baby, drill 4 years? Or has there been anything like government wise where they're going to subsidize oil and gas producers to keep producing? Or is that more just narrative, drill, baby, drill, but it's not actually going to happen?
I mean, like Fed lands, it got really hard with the Biden administration. And the majority of what we do in New Mexico is Fed lands buying overrides. We're not like doing the permitting, but it's near impossible to go start like a really small company and go drill in New Mexico without having a handful of regulatory people.
Yeah.
And so when you look at your G&A and what you got to do, it's just, it wants people to be in Texas. Now there's a ton of resource in New Mexico, but that's not the case in other Fed lands where maybe there's just one zone. Like you can't make sense of having all these people on your team to go drill something in maybe the Powder River where you can only drill for 3 months because of a prairie chicken and it takes you 2 years to get a permit and the winter's like always there. So that's probably why the Powder River's never happened.
It is.
No,
true.
That's true.
Wait, explain what that
That's
is for anybody listening to this.
Yeah, and I'm not an operator
I
like
know
in the
you're not.
Powder, so somebody else could explain it a lot better. But there's the prairie chickens, and they mate, but they will not mate if there's a drilling rig noise, or there's too much noise.
And a prairie chicken is literally just a certain bird.
It is a beautiful bird. You can hunt them. Like, if you don't know what it is, Google it. It's a really good looking bird.
And we can't drill oil and gas because we don't want to kill
during their breeding
the prairie birds.
And so a lot of times you can drill up there is when the weather's really poor.
Yeah.
We've never seen a prairie chicken. I don't know if it has talons, kind of like Owen Wilson said in Wedding Crashers.
You throw a famous,
But it's a larger bird.
you throw a pretty famous Halloween party, and I might be a prairie chicken this year.
I love
Do
that.
Halloween
Like
party
that.
and bring a prairie chick.
But I think regulatory stuff can lay down. The problem is, it doesn't matter what Trump says. If oil's at $60, you can't make money. People aren't going to put money. They're not going to invest in it.
And right now, the trend line is rig down.
That's if you kind of read all these recent quarterly reports, everyone's dropping a rig or half a rig or something.
So it's not like they're all going down. It's just not as much.
It's not as much.
Isn't that also been a trend line though? Just in the fact that most of these E&P companies have to produce cash flow and operate a profitable business now.
Yeah,
but that's been going on for a while.
It's been going on for a while. I mean, forever. There was no such thing ever talked about free cash flow yield 5 years ago, or even maybe, I can't remember when the cutoff was, 3 to 5 years ago. That wasn't even a conversation. It was reserves and growing reserves. And so that created, which was an unhealthy way to go forever, especially in shale. It brought on too much debt and it was the wrong motivation, right? And so, yeah, now where it is, hey, let's look at this like an operating business. We got to create free cash flow. We got a depreciating asset, and we got to run like a real business. And that's been healthy for our industry. But with that, we still are a depreciating asset, and you've got to continue to drill or you're going to run out of product, right? And that then will put prices higher. One thing I think it's interesting to bring up that people don't, someone from Oregon, right? There's no effect to layoffs in oil and gas. It's a huge industry with a lot of jobs. And so like, they're not laying down rigs because they're pissed they're not making enough money. No, they're not making enough money to where they don't have to they got to start taking on debt to operate because the margins are too tight, right?
Yeah.
Which the public market will slam you for doing stuff like that. So they have to drop rigs to be prudent with the balance sheet. But the problem here is that no one talks about, like, why does $60 not work? Well, the cost of everything has gone up.
Yeah.
And one of the key ones, forget the tariffs and all that, making, pipe go up and everything. People. I mean, look what inflation has been like in the U.S. for the last several years. People cost more. So what you say, well, forget them. We should just fire them so I can have a cheap price at the pump. That's not right to say.
Yeah.
But, most of America doesn't have oil and gas production. So they don't think they don't even quantify that when they complain.
Okay. And again, I know y'all aren't AI tech guys, but like, is AI going to play a part on the drilling rig and make it cheaper to where you're not going to actually need as many people? Like, when I watch a well getting drilled, like, you need roughnecks doing all this kind of stuff. Is there any part of the process that's going to get cheaper that you've even heard about?
I'm sure like efficiency is gained in AI, maybe that'll, but like, I don't know enough.
You're not sitting here right now seeing some major thing.
We're not on the right side of the business.
Yeah.
You could ask John or Cody if they got a robot out there breaking pipe or something. I mean, I
you just own the mineral. You don't care. And as a mineral owner, you don't care how much the well costs.
Well, we do. As
a mineral owner, you don't.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Because we're buying them. Now, if I inherited them, never had to pay for them, sure, it's like Lucky Sperm Club. But we're paying people for them. If it costs more to drill that well,
then they're
going to drill less of them.
Got it. I got you. Yeah, it does.
So we want
non-op. It does impact you a lot.
And
more.
we do non-op as well, and take leasehold and all that. And so, but we try to be in the best rock that we can buy in to where those guys can drill through pretty much almost any cycle.
Yeah. Has the industry changed at all from a standpoint of like, you're tighter with the operators, so you have better line of sight of like, this is going to get drilled?
The best rock gets drilled.
Yeah.
And so we've never been, some guys in our industry try to partner with operators to get drill schedule. But then you're giving them, you're giving up a lot of the candy, and there's only so much great rock. And so what we try to do is just buying the best rock, and that stuff's gotten drilled, and it's always exceeded our timing. If we thought it was going to drill in 7, maybe it got drilled in 3.
Okay. Y'all, we've talked about this in the past. Y'all, from my perspective, get a lot done with a relatively lean team. How big's the total team?
13.
Not including third-party landmen.
Correct. Yeah.
But and how many, if you had landmen out in the field?
we don't have a ton, and they're really not sourcing deals. You know, they're doing more of like the curative work once we're buying something, or research expense trying to find new ownership.
And
But
y'all have bought how many billions of dollars worth of deals at this point?
we think it's about we got to double check, but around 1.2 billion.
Okay. Was it by design that you only had 13 people, or looking back, you're like, this is just kind of how we did it? You typically hear a teams doing this much volume. They seem to be much larger.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it is, we work with other, Pegasus has been a long time partner of ours, but we still cover a decent amount of our G&A.
Yeah.
And so we're just sensitive to G&A burn. It matters to our pocket. And so we ourselves are very involved on a daily basis, and we ask a lot of ourselves. And so we do the same with other people. And, you talk to people and you hear stories, you read books, and you live it. And I'm a big fan of a small team and guys trying to do a lot with a little. I just think the conversations are easier. You're more nimble. You can get a lot done. Now, obviously you reach points where you got to bring more people on, but we've always tried to just really fill the cup with everything you can do before you kind of bring someone else on.
It's a really big decision for us to bring someone on.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, how does that even conversation begin to start? You're like, we're just overloaded, or how do you even think about it?
Yeah. So for a long time, we leaned on Pegasus for a lot of the technical work. And we still do in the Permian. They get great geologists, great engineers.
Shout out to Pegasus, George Young, George Rogers. We love you.
Incredible partners.
G3.
It's been a great partnership. And so we still, we were in there yesterday talking about geology and new areas we might want to buy in. And so what we've done for a while is we have our own engineer. We got a geologist we do a bunch of contract work with, and we're trying to do a lot of that on the front end. So when people want answers on price, send us a deal, or we're talking to a mineral owner, we can give them an answer, Tyler and I, in 20 minutes, or we can have our engineer run it, and in an hour we can do it. And we backstop a lot of deals, but we wouldn't do that if we didn't have the technical guys in our office. So 8 years ago, we were buying stuff, but the margins were so high. Now the margins are so thin. If we make a bad mistake, we could, be a difference making a couple $1 million or losing a couple million.
And you don't retrade.
We never retrade. We've never retraded on a deal, and we won't.
So you'll just eat it.
We ate a couple.
Have you eaten some crow before?
We have.
Yeah, nothing like buying a deal
that doesn't exist.
Oils and $20 during COVID after you told them. What is it, 65?
Or the title's not there.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to hire somebody, though, the conversation would start by, we're just too overloaded, or we're hiring someone to go do this specific thing that we can't do anymore, and we want to be able to do it.
If like right now, like our engineer's getting, like there's not enough time in a day he needs someone to help him. He needs a tech.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about it. He's doing as good as he can do, and he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
And he just needs some help, and it's slowing down our deal flow. So we need to hire this person.
Yeah.
So we're going to do it, but we've been waiting. We've been talking about it for 2 months.
Yeah.
But like with our buyers, and Tyler can speak to it as well, but we have really good buyers, and they're bought in. They like being there. We're there for them. If they call us at midnight and need something, and I'm up, I'm going to respond. If not, I'm going to respond as soon as I wake up.
Yeah.
And so those guys do a lot, and they're really good. Now, if I bring on another 4 of them, it's not going to double the amount of deals. Maybe we get an extra 15% of deals, and that's not worth having another 4 people in the office.
Are there things that you do even today that the typical business book would say, y'all should have, like, I'm talking about you two, you guys should have delegated this by this point. Like, I can't believe you're still doing this thing.
For sure. There's definitely people. I mean, we still price a lot of units individually across the basin ourselves for hours a day. And people are like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
But
what's your answer?
Well, it's to Trent and I, it's really important. I mean, then that way we're really in tune with the market and the pricing. And so then we have quicker feedback, and instead of like, well, do I trust the guy I delegated it to? Is it correct? And we've tried delegating more of that, but it's also something we need to be involved in.
Yeah.
In our mind, right or wrong, that's something that helps us. And so I think it also helps us see opportunity in the market quicker, instead of waiting on responses from other people and then seeing it maybe 2 months too late. So I think that's something, a perfect example of where like the business books tell you to delegate, but maybe you need to be in the weeds.
You can answer this. You don't have to. One of I would say the Tilden specialties is just like big families, big deals. Is that just the simple fact of being able to build great relationships over long periods of time. Like most people that try and go to Eddie and Lee in that New Mexico area that want to work on the big stuff, the Leon brothers kind of already have their foot in the door. They've kind of been there. Was that just happened by happen chance? And it's just like, we're nice and we went and met all these people and we're really nice to them? Or maybe it's not just about that. Like, is there a thought behind how to get bigger families to do bigger things? Because we're heading into a world where like $80 trillion worth of farmland and ranches and minerals is going to transfer in the next 15 years. Y'all seem to have figured this out in dealing with large families. Maybe it's like what you did, or
we've been buying minerals in New Mexico since 2015. And in the Delaware Permian. And so it's time. Yeah. Like if I came in 2 years ago, so I think a lot of it's relationship based. It's trust. I don't like blow smoke up their ass. I'm like, it's a great asset. We're buying it to make money, but I can pay it to you now.
We're not buying this to lose.
Now maybe we will, but the purpose here is so we can make money. But like I tell our guys, and I mean, you want to build your network as big as it can be. And so like I tell our buyers, I'm like, when you call these people, you don't need to just call them and make the offer and then try to talk to them. And there's nothing wrong with having a buddy in Roswell, New Mexico that might never sell you his minerals. Maybe his cousin or aunt or friend or somebody, and he recommends it in 8 years or whatever. But just build that network and don't be so consumed about what happens today, and just watch and see what happens.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to our dad. I mean, he was in real estate his whole life, tenant rep for the most part, so relationships were big. And he always told us, two things. He's like, look, big deals take the same amount of time as little deals. So work on big deals. And relationships matter. And you've got to know as many people and be as good to many people, and good things come around. And he really hammered both of us home for years. And I didn't even know what he was talking about at 14 years old or 16 or whatever. I'm like, I'm playing pro golf. What are you talking about? But now it's manifested
on the PGA Tour.
Now it's manifested, and it's a reality.
But what you're looking for is you want to make the last offer, right? Like, we're not getting stuff for 30% under market here, or getting it cheaper than anyone else. But what I want is if, Chris Powers Mineral Company offers this person I've been talking to for 5 years, $30,000 an acre. I want him to call me and say, Trent, if you beat this, I'll sell it to you.
Yeah.
And here's what Chris Powers offered me.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of that. And
awesome.
So we'll tell them right then and there, like, we'll do it, or you should, you know what? I can't get there. You should go with Chris Powers.
Do you think it's from golf, just how you're wired, that you just continue to kind of stay focused on the same thing? I mean, we're going to joke about it a little bit. You maybe have a little more shiny object syndrome, but when you talk to Trent, you're like, I don't know why we would stop buying minerals. We're just like really good at it. I can't figure out why we would do something else. Is that just how you're raised and how your mind works? Because the more successful you get, it's easy to get pulled. I mean, we're not going to talk about the EV charging station venture that we almost went on. But then when I'm like, what kind of deals do you do? You're like, we just take our excess money and we put it in the S&P 500. That is like the whole strategy. Did you think through this one, or is this just like, it just seems simple and we just kind of keep it simple?
Yeah. I mean, I'll say a couple things about it. Like, I have definitely said, hey, let's look at other ideas. I'm pretty curious and want to, see other things, and I read a lot, and it makes me think these other ideas. But looking back, we've done pretty crappy in outside investments outside what we know.
Yeah.
And Trent's been really good about, being diligent of like, hey, look, we're good at this. If you want to have fun at something, go on a vacation. Let's just keep making money. And it's a great point. And I kind of sat there and thought about it for a second. I was like, yeah, that is actually a great point, and I do think, triangulating that to sports or golf, like, you do a repetitive thing a lot. And really, the more you do it, the better you get, and the more success you have a lot of times. And so I think those things colliding have led us to be like, let's just keep it simple, stupid, and just continue to be great at what you're at.
All right. So if we just wrapped it up and said, if we sat back here in 4 more years, will it look a lot like the last 4 years, or is there anything interesting, again, kind of staying within the focus in the lane? Is it new plays? Is it new things? Like, what will the next 4 years look like?
Well, I think, Tyler, we're land driven in oil and gas, right? So, that means you won't operate or might not.
So
we have a drilling deal we really like. Like, we put together 20,000 acres of leasehold in the Eagle Ford, and it was just Tyler and I and William Malloy. Those are the 3 investors. And if you're not in oil and gas, 20,000 acres, it's quite a bit in
Yeah.
a shale play. So we got that sold, and now we're looking at a drilling deal. And so, we are interested in operating if we like the asset enough and think we can really turn $1 into $3 to $5.
Yeah.
And so we've talked about partnering with an operating team or building out our own. And so I wouldn't be shocked if we're in 4 years and we have a small operating team that we can go drill some Eagleford units or this bigger drilling deal that we like. I think that would be the only.
We like.
We like it. So I could see us doing that, but we will never stop buying minerals.
Yeah.
I will be buying minerals when I'm 70 years old. Now, hopefully they're oil and gas minerals. Maybe it's,
Something else.
whatever they're putting in batteries.
Yeah, we're gonna go we'll go be catching asteroids and drilling those asteroids with Elon for all the.
Maybe
the
it's those
that we
minerals.
need.
Yeah, maybe we can buy some.
All right, this was great. Thank you for joining me today.
You bet. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you,
For the
Chris.
time.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Fort Podcasts. Be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast platform or hop on over to YouTube to watch full video episodes if that's what you'd prefer. For more information, you can check out thefortpod.com.